January 15, 1947. A vacant lot in Los Angeles. She was found in 2 pieces, not a drop of blood at the scene. Whoever did this did it somewhere else. That somewhere has never been found.
You already know the name. Black Dahlia. You've seen it on true crime lists, on documentaries, on Hollywood posters. You think you know the story. You don't, because the name was never hers. The name Black Dahlia was invented by a newspaper reporter 3 days after her body was found. It was a play on a film noir movie, The Blue Dahlia, that had just been in theaters. It was catchy. It sold papers. It had nothing to do with who she was. Her name was Elizabeth Short. She was 22 years old. She wanted to be an actress. She was from Massachusetts. She had black hair and pale skin, and she had been in Los Angeles for less than a year. On January 15, 1947, a woman walking her young daughter through a vacant lot in Leimert Park, Los Angeles, stopped. She thought it was a store mannequin, left out as trash. Then she looked more carefully. It was not a mannequin. What police found in that lot was not a body in the conventional sense. It was a body that had been prepared, arranged, with a precision that the LAPD had never seen before and would never fully explain. Elizabeth Short's body had been completely bisected at the waist, severed cleanly between the second and third lumbar vertebrae. The cut was surgical in its precision. There was no blood, none, in the grass, in the earth around her, anywhere in that lot, not a drop. She had been killed elsewhere, completely drained, then brought here and placed. Her body had been washed, cleaned, each half posed with deliberate geometry, arms raised, hands positioned, legs aligned. The killer had spent time with her after death, a significant amount of time. Her face had been cut from the corners of her mouth toward each ear. The cuts were precise, controlled, not frenzied. Whoever did this was not in a panic. The medical examiner concluded she had been alive during at least some of this. She had been held captive for approximately 3 days before her body was placed in that lot. Before the newspapers got hold of her, Elizabeth Short was just a young woman trying to figure out her life. She was born in Hyde Park, Massachusetts in 1924, the third of 5 daughters. Her father disappeared when she was 6, staged his own death, drove his car off a bridge. He was found alive years later. She never fully recovered from that. She had severe asthma as a child. She spent winters in Florida and California for her health. She developed a love for warm places, for the movies, for the idea of California. She was beautiful, black hair worn in careful waves, pale skin that looked almost theatrical in photographs. She knew how she looked. She worked with it. She wore red lipstick and form-fitting clothes, and she was noticed. She had been engaged, or nearly engaged, several times. She was in love with a pilot who died in the war. She moved between cities, between men, between plans that never quite solidified. She was not lost. She was looking. She arrived in Los Angeles in the summer of 1946. She was 22. She had 6 months left to live. The last confirmed sighting of Elizabeth Short alive was January 9, 1947, 6 days before her body was found. She was seen leaving a hotel in downtown Los Angeles with a man. No one could describe him. In the days before that, she had been staying at the Biltmore Hotel, not as a guest, but sitting in the lobby, waiting for someone. She told the staff she was expecting a call. The call came, or someone came. She left the Biltmore on the evening of January 9th. No one saw where she went. 6 days later, her body was in a vacant lot in Leimert Park. Where she was for those 6 days, what happened to her, who was with her, has never been established. In 77 years, not a single piece of physical evidence has been traced to a specific person. The LAPD in 1947 was not the department that would later handle O.J. Simpson or the Night Stalker. It was smaller, less forensically sophisticated, and deeply corrupt. Within hours of the body being found, detectives had leaked photographs of the crime scene to the Los Angeles Examiner. Graphic photographs. The newspaper ran them. This single decision contaminated the investigation permanently. Once the crime scene photographs were public, anyone who came forward claiming to be the killer would know exactly what the scene looked like. Distinguishing real confessors from false ones became nearly impossible. Over the following months, more than 50 people confessed to the murder of Elizabeth Short. 50. The LAPD investigated each one. None held up. Why do people confess to murders they didn't commit? Psychologists call it the Black Dahlia effect. The case was so famous, the woman so mythologized, that disturbed individuals wanted to be connected to it, to be part of the story, to matter. The LAPD interviewed over 150 suspects over the next decade. They eliminated all of them. The case file grew to over 10,000 pages. The newspapers didn't just report the case. They ran it. The Los Angeles Examiner offered a cash reward for information. Reporters knocked on doors, interviewed witnesses, withheld information from police to preserve their exclusive. They also invented a persona for Elizabeth Short that had nothing to do with her. They called her a drifter, a woman of loose morals, a girl who had been passed from man to man across the city. None of the people who actually knew Elizabeth Short described her this way. They described her as kind, funny, a little naive, someone who talked about wanting to make it in the movies, but so did everyone in Los Angeles in 1947. The press needed a certain kind of woman for the story to work, a woman whose death was, somehow, explicable, connected to her choices. They built that woman out of rumors, and they put Elizabeth Short's face on her. Then the killer made contact. On January 24th, 9 days after the body was found, the Los Angeles Examiner received a package in the mail. Inside, Elizabeth Short's birth certificate, her social security card, her address book, a photograph of her with a man whose face had been cut out. Everything had been wiped clean with gasoline. No fingerprints. No DNA, though DNA testing was decades away. A message sent with complete forensic awareness. A note was also included, cut from newspaper letters, paste-up style. It read, "Here is Dahlia's belongings. Letter to follow." The promised letter arrived days later, also cut from newspapers. It said simply, "Have changed my mind. You would not give me a square deal. Dahlia killing justified." Then nothing. The killer never wrote again, never came forward, never made another mistake that anyone ever found. 77 years later, there are 3 suspects who have attracted serious, sustained attention, not because they were ever charged, but because the circumstantial case around each of them has never been fully dismissed. The first, Dr. George Hodel, a prominent Los Angeles physician, white male, late 30s in 1947, dark hair, brilliant, and deeply strange. He was investigated by the LAPD. His own home was wiretapped in 1950. The LAPD surveillance recording caught Hodel saying, in apparent reference to the murder, "Suppose I did kill the Black Dahlia. They can't prove it now. They can't talk to my secretary anymore, because she's dead." The LAPD did not arrest him. He left the United States for the Philippines shortly after. He lived until 2009. He was never charged. His son, Steve Hodel, is a former LAPD homicide detective. In 2003, he published a book concluding that his own father killed Elizabeth Short. He has spent over 20 years building that case. The second major suspect, Walter Bailey, a surgeon who lived 1 block from the vacant lot where the body was found. His daughter was friends with Elizabeth Short's sister. He had recently separated from his wife and was showing signs of mental deterioration. Bailey died of a neurological condition in January 1948, exactly 1 year after the murder. He was never questioned. His name wasn't formally connected to the case until decades later. The third, Leslie Dillon, a bellhop and aspiring crime writer who wrote to a psychiatrist about the case with detailed knowledge of the crime scene, details that had not been published. He was brought to Los Angeles for questioning in 1949. The LAPD questioned Dillon for weeks, then released him. His attorney argued the questioning was illegal. Dillon walked free and was never charged. He died in 1987. 3 men, each with a thread of connection. None ever charged. The investigation is technically still open. In 1947, forensic science was fingerprints and eyewitnesses. That was essentially it. The killer knew this. The gasoline-clean documents were not the act of someone in a panic. They were the act of someone who understood evidence. When DNA testing became available in the 1980s, investigators returned to what evidence remained. But the crime scene had not been properly preserved. Materials had been handled, stored incorrectly, or simply lost over 40 years. The LAPD Cold Case Unit reviewed the case in 2003. They found no testable DNA samples remaining. The biological evidence that might have answered everything had been lost to time and poor procedure. Here is the problem with the Black Dahlia case that almost no one talks about. The mythology may be preventing the truth. There have been over 20 books, 3 major films, countless documentaries, a TV series, and an ongoing industry of amateur investigation built around this case. It has made careers. It has made money. The mystery has become more valuable than the answer. Every few years, someone announces they have solved it. They have a new suspect, a new document, a new theory. Each announcement generates press coverage. Each theory has its passionate advocates. None has produced an arrest. None ever will. Every potential suspect is now dead. The case is now beyond justice. Whatever happened to Elizabeth Short in those 6 days in January 1947? Whoever took her from the Biltmore Hotel lobby, that person is dead. There will be no trial. There will be no conviction. The best possible outcome is a name. The writer James Ellroy was 10 years old when his mother was murdered in Los Angeles, 1958. Her killer was also never found. Ellroy became obsessed with the Black Dahlia case because it mirrored his own wound. His novel, simply called The Black Dahlia, is not a solution to the case. It is an excavation of what the case does to people who become consumed by it. He understood something important. Some cases don't end with justice. They end with obsession. Elizabeth Short has now been dead for 77 years. She is older as a myth than she ever was as a person. She died at 22. The Black Dahlia has existed for almost 8 decades. She is buried at Mountain View Cemetery in Oakland, California. Her grave still receives flowers from strangers. People who never met her, who know her only from the case, who feel, correctly, that she was failed. She was failed by the LAPD, who leaked her crime scene photographs before the investigation had begun. She was failed by the newspapers, who turned her murder into entertainment and her life into a cautionary tale. She was failed by the investigators who spent more time managing the media circus than solving the crime. And she has been failed, in a different way, by 77 years of true crime culture that has kept her name famous while erasing her identity. Replacing Elizabeth Short with the Black Dahlia. Replacing a person with a symbol. What we know for certain is this: a 22-year-old white American woman from Massachusetts, with black hair and pale skin and a love of movies and warm weather, was killed in Los Angeles in January 1947 with a precision and deliberateness that suggests her killer planned carefully, felt no remorse, and was never caught. We know that her killer mailed her belongings to a newspaper, carefully, deliberately, and then disappeared into the city and was never heard from again. We know that whoever he was, and almost certainly it was a he had knowledge of anatomy, access to a space where he could hold someone captive for 3 days, and the composure to pose a body in a public space in the middle of a city and walk away. That person walked among the people of Los Angeles after January 15, 1947. He may have read about himself in the newspaper. He may have watched the investigation unfold and felt nothing. He is dead now. Everyone who was alive in Los Angeles in January 1947 and could have known anything is dead. The case is cold in the most absolute sense of the word. Elizabeth Short has been the Black Dahlia for 77 years. She was Elizabeth Short for 22. We owe her, at minimum, to remember which one was real. Her name was Elizabeth Short. She was 22 years old. She wanted to be an actress. She came from Massachusetts. And she deserved better than to become a symbol of everything the city of Los Angeles could do to a young woman alone.